Hello everybody and welcome to Wesley's Plant World with me, Wesley Peterson, and today we're out in the area of my garden here called Crystal Woods, where I created a lot of new pathways during the winter time so that I can get around and use the whole garden, because a lot of this area was inaccessible. And I chopped down a lot of trees during the winter, and I've used what I've chopped down to make these brush fences here around different borders in this area, which in time will be filled with lots of different plants. And I want to take you around now while the canopy's grown out to show you what it's looking like now. There's a lot more light coming into the area, but I still have a lot more work to do here. So this is the beginning phases of it still, but you can see there's a lot of the brush and the branches and things in the middle of these borders as well that I need to break down with time. And I have a few more of my hazelnut bushes that are still 10 meters tall that I need to prune right down to give more light into the middle here, I can see. But it's been thinned out, the pathways are accessible, and that's really nice. And many of the bushes that I've cut back, the hazelnut bushes and all the different types of trees, have started growing out new leaves, and they're starting to try and bounce back, which is fine because I can keep them low and mounted as bushes instead of trees, and the light will be able to be dappled light that penetrates right into this area. But the point of this video is that I am going to be removing some bracken or ferns that are growing in the pathway at the back behind me down here, and I need to move those because they can't grow there. I need to use the pathway, but I have a perfect spot for them. But first, let's go for a walk around and have a look at the pathways here in my Crystal Woods. So we'll start by going up through the Garden of New Beginnings, which is starting to look so good. Look at my hazelnut bushes on the right and the left side, and this little border here with stones. And then we go on to our lovely, large, majestic English oak. Look at that. So tall, so beautiful. I have planted out hostas. So we'll carry on along here, which is Silver Way now, due to this beautiful downy birch in the middle of the pathway. Also a huge, tall, majestic tree. Look at that. And I did a whole video when we created Silver Way here, so you can go back and see that, how we opened up this whole area to make a pathway. And to my right, I have Triangle Garden. And here I planted out a lot of ferns last year, and they're starting to come out. And also I did a whole video on where I replanted my rhododendron bushes, this one here and another one on the other side, so you can go back and see that video too. So we'll carry on through Silver Way here and round to the left pathway that we first created. I have some baby oak trees down here that are growing out that I want to replant somewhere else. Look at these, beautiful. And then I have this border here where I actually planted out at the back a bamboos that can get to around 5 meters tall, and I really want that to fill out the edge here on the edge of our grounds. And as a ground cover we have this myrtle growing, which is beautiful. So we'll carry on around the new pathway, up around the back of our border towards the roadside. And I planted some spruce trees on the left. Some have dried out and died. Some are carrying on fine, like these two. I have here in the middle of the pathway a fern growing that I need to move, put into another border. And there's another type growing here, right in the middle of the pathway. So I'm just going to leave those. I think they're quite cute. On my left here, I've planted out more bamboos, different types, that can get to 3-4 meters tall again. And they seem to be doing well. So that's going to help out this area along the edge of our property where you can see the other houses. Help to give us coverage with time. So the pathway that needs to be trimmed here carries on around the back And on my left again here, I have another bamboo I planted, doing really well, even though it's been very dry until now. The pathway carries on around here, and then we come to another pathway area where I need to strim because there's another type of fern growing out in the ground. And something I want to show you here is that I cut down these younger Norway maple trees, and I hoped that they would start sprouting out because I want them to grow as bush forming trees, and they are doing exactly what I wanted. So look at this, lots of young shoots coming out. That was one. This is the second one, and look at all the shoots coming out on this. So this was a success. Even though I cut them down, they are all bouncing back. This one's slower, but if we look closer, it has shoots coming out down here. There you go. So you can see, you can do this. You can go and chop down some trees that are too big and make them into a bush form instead. So they're going to outline this pathway really nicely when they've started growing out even more. So I'm pleased about that. We have this old tree trunk laying down in this border here as a perfect home for the biodiversity. There's another stump in the middle of the pathway that's growing out so well, but it can't stay there, so that needs to be removed. This whole middle area needs to be cleaned up and tidied up with all of the branches and stems that I've cut down. But you can see most of all of the trees that I've pruned down have sprouted out lots of new branches and looking good. And look at the lovely old stump on this one. It's near enough like a bonsai. So that's really beautiful actually. So we'll carry on around the pathway. Lots of lovely old tree roots. Look at these, so amazing. And then all the rocks. I know it's difficult to see and appreciate on the video where I am and what this really looks like in real life, but you can see how much we worked on clearing out this area, because now I can actually walk around for the first time during the summer season in the whole of our Crystal Woods area. And I did say that I cut down a mountain ash on the top of this rock, and I wanted it to shoot out at the top to become a kind of bonsai on the rock. Well, look at this. It's grown lots of new shoots, and we can see how it hangs over the rock. Absolutely beautiful. Let's take another look from another perspective here. So here you can see all the shoots coming out. So I hope this is going to be a lovely ball and look like a bonsai tree on this boulder with time. So this is the middle area that was cleared out, and you can see I've formed all of these brush fences and all of the hazelnut bushes that I've pruned right down. Look at them flushing out at perfect heights, the heights that I wanted, so they're not 10 meters tall blocking out all of the light. They can be kept pruned all the time. There's another one growing out perfectly there. All the ones in the middle are growing out perfectly, and you can see in the distance there our annex, our Crystal Cottage. So we'll carry on because we're getting closer now to the area where I have all of the ferns or brackens that are growing out in the middle of the pathway. So I have one here that I need to take out and remove and replant. And then here we go. There's a pathway there, and you can see down here first, there's a few growing out here. And I want to keep all of these. Nothing can be wasted. So look, right in the middle of my pathway, because it's a very moist area, I have a whole line of these ferns, brackens growing out. So I'm going to remove them from here and save every single one and put them exactly where I want them to be. In Cozy Cove and under our terrace behind the begonia that I planted out, because they would do really well there. So it's just fun to see that they've grown in the pathway. It's very, very wet and boggy in this little bit just here. So it's so perfect for them. But I can't carry on the pathway there without trampling down them. So we'll carry on around Crystal Woods just so you can see the pathways that I've created even more since my last video, how they're looking. And we can look up and see the canopy as well, growing out. Lots and lots and lots and lots of trees, even though I did remove an awful lot. There's still so much going on here, it's unbelievable. And I really am liking that the outlines of the pathway are much clearer because of these brush fences that I've made. So we'll carry on through the middle here. And this area is the Japanese stone garden. Look how beautiful that's looking. We go to the left. A few more of these brush fences. I have a hazelnut that I cut right down, which has a lovely form here. And I was hoping it's going to bud out again, and it has. See, it's starting to grow out. There are small shoots on some of the other thicker branches, so that will bounce back and look beautiful. This one here is bushing out, and it was exactly the same as these two that are up to 10 meters tall. So look at those. I need to get in and chop these down because I need even more light in this area. I love the boulders here, look at this. And I hope inside the brush borders I'm going to be able to get the ground to fill out lush and green with plants. That's my idea with this whole area. So this is the first phases of it. So here you can see this is going to bush out beautifully and has thick mature stems that will bounce back. So that's fantastic. Here again, the Japanese stone garden, and there are even more rocks down here. So we can take this pathway through the middle here that I also created. And right in front of us we have oval garden, which is getting greener and greener, which is exactly what I wanted. The ground is starting to green out. It's completely ringed with brush fencing to mark out that it is a garden, not to be walked on. All the wild plants are allowed to grow in here, plus anything else that I plant in. And here, down here, I've planted in some spruce that are really bushing out and doing well. And these beautiful bracken. Now look at this one. I planted this out last year. And I planted some over in the middle, you can see here. And down here. So oval garden, there's the pathway, needs to be stripped, but oval garden is coming on a treat and starting to green out more on the ground. I love that. And then the other side of triangle garden here now, we have another pathway here. And in triangle garden, I planted out a lot of bracken. I planted out my rhododendrons. There's the other rhododendron that I planted out last year, which you can go back and see in a video that I made about that. I've planted out more spruce here. So there's lots of lovely things going on. The old tree that's been on the ground here rotting for years has almost disappeared. But it's been fantastic for the biodiversity and for the wild plants around here, and there's all sorts going on in here. And look down here, you can see a lot of the lily of the valley growing out, really enjoying the area. So this is really working out so beautifully. So now let me go and get my tools to work on my bracken. So I really hope you've enjoyed seeing all the pathways and the progress out here. It's going to take some time, but I think the process is the fun part. So for me, it doesn't matter if it takes time. Let me get on with the project of the day now. So right, I am now ready to collect all of these wild self-sown ferns or brackens from my pathway here. And these being one of my absolutely favorite plants, I just can't wait to be able to rehouse them where I'll be able to enjoy them and know they're not going to get damaged. So look, there's the first one, very quick and easy because the ground here is so moist. But I would like to say that normally if the ground isn't moist like it is here, it's very difficult to get these plants up because they have roots that just really stick hard into the ground. And they are survivors. I mean, these plants are millions and millions and millions of years old in the making. They've been around since, well, the Jurassic periods and so forth. So they're survivors. And even though these ones look quite small, they are going to get quite big. They've grown from their own spores. So this is how much they've managed to grow in the time that they've been here. Oh, I don't want to damage all their leaves now. So let's see, I can't see if there's two. Oh, there's a little plant here and a big one. So already here, because there's tree roots around here, it's going to be difficult to get this one out. I can see already. But I've got one. I've got the smaller one. There we go, lovely. That's already 3 plants that I have. This one here, it's a bit bigger, is a bit more difficult, but it's coming out now. Don't they just have the most beautiful leaves you've ever seen? I can't get enough of these plants. I love that they grow naturally and wild everywhere here where I live in Sweden. So, there was a little one here that I can take out, put its root ball. That was just leaves. So we'll go to the furthest back here and get out the ones that are here. And I am so pleased that these are coming up so easy this time, because this means that they will also transplant easier, because there's a huge risk at doing this at this time of the year when they've already unfurled their throngs. They're very sensitive to being moved actually, and I could risk these snapping over in their stems because they get shocked, and when they snap, well, then they can't recover from that. And also they might just end up shriveling away and drying out anyway because of the shock. So I could risk planting these where I want them to be now and then having to wait until the next season for them to rebounce back. And I know they will bounce back even if that happens, because I've done this many times. And I need to do this now because I need to be able to get around my pathways all summer. I can't wait until the autumn to do this. I need to do it now. So I'll do it, and because they're so moist, they might be okay, because I did this the other day with some others, put them in my cozy cove area, and I watered them thoroughly through, and they didn't pout at all. They're standing up, they're looking good, they haven't had any shock effects. So that's what I need to do this time. Keep them moist, keep them watered, and they might stay fine for this season as well. So this one here is a pretty big one. I hope I'm going to be able to get it. They have very fine roots, but they really do stick like a web in the ground they're in. I mean, they anchor themselves really well. But this has a lovely big root ball, and I might be able to get it. Again, it's still moist enough for me to get it up. So the problem here is the tree roots, because the roots of these ferns hug around the tree roots, making it difficult to get them out as well. But I might just have got this one. And this one is actually amazing because it's a whole colony. And I want to show you that because it's quite exciting when you see how easy it is to split ferns as well. So look at the big beautiful plant. There we go. Absolutely gorgeous. And then if we should look in under, I hope you can see here, but there's one main ball there, one there, one there, one here, one there, one there. I can split all those and make whole new plants and spread them out even more, or leave this as a beautiful mass as it is. But we'll see when I get to where I want to plant them out, if I want to split this up a little bit or not. So in my crate with that one too, beautiful. Couple more here, and then I'm done with this little bit of my pathway out here at the far back corner of my Crystal Woods area. Good. One more. Now I've already lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls, but many more plants than 5 balls, as I said. And then another big one here with 2 separate balls together. It's inevitable that leaves are going to get damaged because they are quite sensitive and easy to break and snap. But now I have a crate full here. So if you look, if I go back here, you can see I've relieved my pathway of the bracken. Some leaves on an old stump, cleared out, very good. So now I am ready to take these and plant them under my terrace, and they're going to fill out the back corner of that so well, and you'll see what I mean in just a moment. So now I'm in front of my terrace and the hole underneath where I planted out in another video my Begonia cordifolia eroica, and I know a lot of you call them Begonia. So Begonia cordifolia eroica, that's fine. I prefer to call them Begonia. So they're still doing well, most of them around the front. I had around 3 that didn't do well in the back part under here. So I've planted them out in another area of my botanical garden, actually below where I have my rhododendrons, and they seem to be flushing out over there again. So that's really, really good. They're bouncing back. But the other ones have done really well. I'm going to show you all of them when I finish planting out my bracken that I've just taken up from Crystal Woods. So I have my crate full of them here. I just need to get in under at the back. It's probably going to be difficult for you to see what I'm doing because it's shady under there and it's sunshine out here. So I'm just going to get in, get this done, and then I will take you in for a closer look so you can see everything. And I've decided to put these at the back because I have some of these same bracken growing out naturally by themselves in under right at the back here. So I know this plant is going to survive and do very well in the dark, damp spot at the back behind my Begonia. And that way I'm going to have this area filled out like I've wanted to for such a long time. And when I've finished with planting, I do need to do a little bit of weeding, and then I will show you the whole thing. So let me just get on with this. At the same time as doing this, I do need to be a little bit careful because we have a wasp's nest under here. But I do need to get this done, so I hope they're not going to get tangled in my hair or sting me in my face. Now, I've crawled around under here when I was planting out my begonias, and it was very difficult. So I have myself a plastic knee pad to help me get in here. And I really do need to get right to the back. So for now, I'm not going to take the crate or anything in with me. I'm just going to take my plants. Now I want to get the biggest plant in the back corner over here so that is higher than the ones at the front and can still get the light while it's establishing itself. Right, so to give some perspective of where I've been working, here we are in my botanical garden, and we'll go and have a look underneath my terrace here at the bracken I've just planted, and at the same time the begonia I planted last year. So look at the begonia. They're doing really well, and I want to show you on this one that they did flower out and they had lovely dark purple flowers on them. But it looks to me like the deer, even though they don't eat the leaves, they actually eat the flowers because the flowers have been bitten off the stalks. I don't think that's slugs that have eaten all of the flowers. I think that must be deer. But these that were on the sales rack and looking quite bad last year when I did my video, you can go back and see that. They're doing pretty well now. Here at the back you can see all of these lovely fern that I've just planted out. There were 2 already in the back there. So I knew that putting more out would be a perfect idea because they obviously want to be there by themselves. So by planting out them, I'm speeding up the process, and this whole corner will be filled out with beautiful ferns that will fill up and be able to cover the back wall. With the fern and the backdrop like this, that looks pretty artistic. I like the splash of green on the wall there. That's all natural something growing on the wall. Let's have a closer look actually because it's so beautiful. That is some kind of living thing growing on the wall. Absolutely spectacular. But all the way along the back you can see here, looking good, damp soil, and I will go in and water them even more. So I think these are going to be able to stay up and produce more throngs this season. And in amongst them I've planted these other plants as a ground cover. So I hope they're going to spread out amongst them and climb around and look beautiful, as well as this shade loving plant down here. They really like deep shade to do well, otherwise they yellow out. So I've planted these in here and I hope they'll bush out. And this is a variety that has white flowers and not the more common red flowers. And since I've planted them out here, they've actually grown new growth out of the top. You can see that here. So they're really enjoying it under here. So I hope they're going to mound out into lovely balls of evergreen as well. So this is 2 evergreen plants and then the ferns that will die back. Because, no, 3 evergreen plants, because even these are evergreen. They turn a reddish colour during the winter. But this has really turned out well and more wild looking. And I love that. And there are so many plants here now that this will become a thick mound of these bracken here. Let's go out so you can see exactly what I mean. There you go. And then with the edge of the terrace, you can see exactly how they look underneath. And there, here at the front, you can see the begonia liked it much more in this corner, so there are many more left. Look at them. And the ones in the back are very green and lush. So they transplanted here very, very well. And they all flowered out beautifully. So I'm really pleased about that. And see again into the back. You can see all the bracken are taking up the space where the begonia didn't enjoy being in the back. And now I have another plant that will do so and fill out this whole area. So I'm going to go back even further so you can see where this is in comparison to my Crystal Cottage, so you get even more of a perspective of the whole area I've worked on today. And there you go. There's our terrace, and underneath at the back is where we have this beautiful view of these plants, and we'll go in this way through the botanical garden. There we go. Turn round to the right and you can see this lovely display under my terrace. I think this has worked out amazing. It's building up more and more. I want the ground covering plants to fill out more. I'd like to plant something out along the front edge to give flowers during the summer. And then this will be a lovely complete area when I can't see soil with time. But it's building up and building up, and I think looking good as it is. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing the progress of my area underneath my terrace here and how it now has different evergreen plants as well as perennial plants that will fade away but will be able to come back every single year without me having to go in and do anything with them once they're established. And these fern or brackens, as we call them too, will do fantastically in here. As I said, I have plants growing in there by themselves, so I knew that I would be able to add these plants and they would do well in that back area. But it's really interesting to see where the border goes between an area being perfect for a plant and not, because the begonia can go into around 80-90 centimeters, and then beyond that they really don't like it and they started fading away, so I moved them out. And in this front corner here I've been able to keep many more of the begonia because they get a lot more sun during the day. And now in the darkest area at the back I have the fern and the other plants that cope with deep shade. And in fact I might even put myself some hostas in under here and test out if they'll be able to survive without being munched down completely by slugs and snails. We'll see, but that will be a project for another time. So I hope this has inspired you to do something with an area that you have that seems like it might be a waste of space and you're really fed up with seeing it in your garden. Well, you can always find something to plant out there, keep it weeded and keep it fresh, and then it will be something enjoyable to see, because this is a big hole we see from the whole of our botanical garden area. So it's really important that it starts to look nice, it looks fresh, and it looks like it has purpose, because for many years nothing had happened under here. It was just full of weeds and I did nothing with it, and I kept things under there as a storage space, and it was just really annoying and unsightly to see. And now I'm starting to enjoy it more and more and more. And now, before I close off my video completely, I do want to take you over to my area of my garden called Cozy Cove and give you a quick look at how my bracken look once they start establishing themselves and growing out taller and thicker and beautiful. Because all of the ones that I'm going to show you, I've planted out myself as a border, and they are doing fabulously. Some of them have been planted out for 3 seasons now, and some have only been out since last year, and they're still doing fantastic this year. So let's go and have a closer look at those before this video ends. So let's do this. We'll walk through the courtyard garden. You can see my annex there, and actually in front of my annex, I just want to show you, I planted out these bracken here too, and look how big and beautiful they're getting. So again, that shows you, these were 2 clumps that I've split twice, and here we go, look how thick the one on the left is. That was 1 clump that I split into 3, and the other one was a clump I split into 3, but I actually did the same thing again last year, so that was 2 seasons. And then I wanted to put some behind my rhododendron, so I split some of those and put them here, and that's why some of them are smaller over there than these. So there's some behind the rhododendron, but let's carry on through bonfire garden here and go into Cozy Cove, which is directly ahead of me here, and then we'll see more that I've planted out as a border. And look at all of these. I am so pleased with these. Look at this arrangement here. My bracken are growing tall, thick, beautiful, and gorgeous to look at. Look at this. Just look at this. I am so amazed, and I am so happy with this. The size of them. To give you some perspective, I'll put my hand here. Look at the size of these. They're getting very, very big. And then I planted out these ones last year, and they've come out wonderfully this year. And next year they'll be even taller. So they're also doing really well. These are clumps that I split up in many pieces and spread out here, and they've done so well. So this is just to show you what I'm attempting to create underneath my terrace at the same time. So I really hope you enjoyed seeing Cozy Cove close up like that, and now you can understand just how my beautiful ferns underneath here are going to look next season and beyond, as they mature more and more and fill out the gap under here more and more and more, giving me so much pleasure, seeing as brackens and ferns are one of my most favorite plants, as well as hostas. So all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching this video with me. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up, and I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.